This is Twit.
I do want to point out here at this point that Fred, well, I do know that for example, that one of the first soundtracks or pieces of music that came out encoded with Headphone X was the Man of Steel score by Hans Zimmer, who had remixed it in 11.1. And the room, you mentioned earlier how they simulate the acoustics of a room in the signal. And in that case, it was Hans Zimmer's studio. And they even went farther and simulated Hans Zimmer's head-related transfer function. So while it is possible for Headphone X to simulate a given person, generally speaking, I think you're entirely right that they will take an average, which is well known, and just apply that to the sound, to the signal that goes out to the general public.
Right. So Headphone X, they take the original 11.1, they add some information about the room to that. Then they take each individual speaker and put a filter, a head-related transfer function filter on it that's appropriate for the direction that speaker is coming from. And then they mix it all together into a left and right channel and put it in your headphones. And the interesting thing, or the difficult thing, is that the headphones themselves are all not flat, and they all will have ringing or changes in equalization and so on and so forth, differences in equalization from flat. And so to some extent, all the work they do in the head-related transfer function and room effects may be ruined by the performance of the headphones if the headphone has a lot of extraneous junk coming out
Problems
of it.
To it. Yeah, right, exactly.
Because the things they do to the sound to cause it to sound like it's coming from a particular direction are similar to the kind of things that happen to the sound when it goes through a headphone that is not optimal. In other words, sort of these higher frequency 2 to 5K, but and really in headphones it's a broader range than that, but they will certainly have artifacts in that region. So the last part of that equation is their ability to actually take an inverse filter, measure a pair of headphones into a standardized coupler, and then take an inverse filter of that headphone to erase its contribution. And in your interview with the DTS CTO, I think you tried to probe him on those issues, and it was somewhat difficult getting really clear answers out because they're doing very complicated things. But the bottom line is, it's my impression that in the long run, they will measure a variety of headphones and then award them DTS approval, and that you will be able to pick a particular pair of headphones in the application so that it will completely cancel out the effect of the headphones.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is that the effect is very, very good. They've really done a lot of homework on this thing, and they've really done a good job of creating these filters. The one aspect that I'd love to see, and I know you mentioned to him, was to incorporate head tracking. And as you know, the Smith Realizer has a head tracker on it. And just like those optical illusions where you stare at something for a very long period of time, a minute or so, and the image sort of disappears, and then when you close your eyes, you can see the inverse of that image.
Yeah, right.
The same is true with headphones. So if you have your head clamped in a position and hear some sound coming from a sound source, you will have a harder and harder time over time figuring out where that sound is coming from.